All right, looks like we're back on here live again. So, more painting, more primer. I'll be in the closet today. Go ahead and start mixing up the paint. Have my tools still here from yesterday. So, this should be it on the primer after today. That closet taken care of. Trusty paint stick. Nobody's came online yet or entered a live stream. Sometimes it's misleading. They'll start talking before the numbers go up. Shows a little person and lights up top. And you can watch the count, so sometimes they enter in and you don't know it yet. Should be a pretty easy day. I'm excited to get it over with. Because I may have to sand just a little bit here and there, spot sand. I'll be happy when next stage I can just paint. Normally I clean and save these stir sticks, but I've probably got 50 of them, so I saved so many that they've accumulated over time. So before I get to the closet, I'm going to hit a few spots that I touched up here in this room. I noticed a couple little imperfections I fixed with some +3 this morning. And then I sanded them down a little bit ago, so I'm going to run the roller over those real quick. And get started. I think this roller should be good. This is day 3 for it. I'll pitch it out after I'm done with this. I'll pitch it out and put a fresh one on for the next color. Says there's 8 people in here, but you never really know when you first come online. It's still my first week, so I'm still learning this stuff. I've been happy to meet some new people, gotten 20 or 30 subscribers in the past 4 or 5 days, so. DWI, if that's a word that can be pronounced, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that. How's it going? So right now I've got my 9-inch roller, and I think that's about a 3. I really like that 3-inch. So I'll set up back here, and I'm going to hit these few spots real quick that I touched up, and then I'll be working in the closet. It's mainly ceiling spots, so it won't take long. I'll have these done pretty quick as come. I may not catch all the footage. Most of it's on the ceiling. A few spots. Actually, I'll do these spots over here first. There's only a couple. I'll do these, and then ceiling is to be done in about 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'll be heading into that small closet, and I'll be in there for probably a good hour. So there's a spot here. Get that roll on nice and thick. These were plaster walls, so I'm trying to make sure, and I will use eggshell paint, so that helps conceal also. There's a spot, here's a spot. Figure I might as well do it right the first time instead of, this is at my home for the next couple of years. It would catch my eye if I skip past stuff. I'm not like OCD, but I try to be somewhat perfectionist and do a good job. So, over time you get a sharp eye for little imperfections. I'll walk in places and see. I'm no professional myself. I work maintenance, but I've done enough of this. Done enough of this to get a pretty sharp eye for people that cut corners and people that don't. So, that was one of the major spots, and there's one over here. So I'll get that and reposition to the ceiling, knock it out in a couple minutes, and set up in the closet to paint that. So if anybody's watching, I hope you're having a good day. Feel free to subscribe. I do a lot of different projects and sometimes just get on here and talk with people. I enjoy meeting new people and talking with them. Especially some of the younger ones that stop in, they possibly pick up on some little life tips and stuff like that. So that looks pretty good. One more little area here. Just go ahead and picking it up with the primer some. I actually like painting quite a bit more than the joint compound. All that scraping and sanding and making sure everything looks good. And getting all that dust in your clothes and breathing it and all that. Gets all over the house too. This is a 2-story house, so that dust just freaking travels. Circulates, it gets in the air ducts and stuff to think about. So I don't dust it all like I used to. I kind of stopped because it would drive me mad. You'll clean the house and it's all in the ducts. You'll have it all through the house within a couple days again. So especially when you're sanding, I'm really happy to be getting through this stuff. So just taking a quick look. Looks like everybody dropped out pretty quick. Went from, didn't get 2 lights. Thanks for the lights. I had 11 people in here a minute ago. They dropped off pretty quick, so that's okay. Just something I can enjoy doing while I paint. I need to do this stuff anyway, so if I can meet some extra people in the process, it's pretty cool. Helps capture footage too. If you ever want to put some videos together you take from these live streams. All right, it's looking pretty good. Yeah, so I'll get the ceiling spots real quick and then we'll move into that closet. I'll be in there probably a good hour. There will be probably a few spots that need sanded. I just like to get it all smooth before the primer goes on. Because once you get the paint on it, it's a different story. Trying to sand it down, you realize you missed a spot. So, this shouldn't take long. Work this ceiling over in these few spots, and I already put primer up here the other day. Decided to fix a couple areas. Hope everybody's doing good. I I've had a pretty good day. Primer seems to dry pretty good too and not leave streaks. That's the bullseye 1, 2, 3. Somebody recommended in the comments the other day, since I'm painting over joint compound topping mud, kilts, some type of kilts filler. I'll make sure I don't miss any of these spots. Kilts filler, I didn't know about that, so I'll have to look into that. I've already bought so much of this primer. I'm sticking to the primer. Check the comments real quick in case anybody dropped in to say hi. Doesn't look like it. Like I said, I will use eggshell. That helps conceal anyway. It's not like it's going to be a perfectly smooth paint. I try to do a pretty good job. I've had a fair amount of painting experience over the years, so I don't really know how it looks if you start leaving streaks and getting sloppy or getting in a hurry. I don't know how well this stuff dries. It may dry better than I think it does. So. And actually, it's going to get 2 layers of Benjamin Moore eggshell. So, yep, down to 1 viewer. People come and go, they subscribe, that's nice too. They drop in and see a little spot I need to maybe sand if it'll let me. Yep, glad I saw that. Don't know how much will be concealed with these layers. 3 layers is quite a bit when you're using better paint, like Benjamin Moore. Comes highly recommended by my dad, and I don't blame him. It's a pretty good paint. I've always liked it too when I got old enough to start buying for projects. It's hard to get away from when you know it's that good. A little bit expensive, but it's worth it. All right. I don't think there's many other spots. Take a quick peek around. There was just a few touch-up spots. There's one more over there. Looks pretty good. Let's see. One more up here. Looks like altogether I'm going to use about 2.5 gallons to 3 gallons when the closet's done. So. Primer. I don't know about painting. I have extra light gray. I'm going to use that on the first layer and then go darker for the final layer coat paint. Okay. So I used the orange primer or stripper on these. I don't know if it'll show up on here. Doesn't look like it is. Kind of a little bit. I used the orange stripper for these. You can kind of see it. The orange stripper for the paint that was on the plaster walls, and it's showing through quite a bit, but heck, I got 2 more layers of paint, so it won't show through that. But since I'm already here, I'll go ahead and cover it up a little bit better. So there's a form of stripper under there still. Saturated into the walls. Everything's scraped down pretty thorough. Scraped and sanded and scraped some more. And scraping went on for quite a while. Alright, enough of that. We'll get onto the closet and get situated. It's white, but that's not paint, that's topping mud. So, drop this tripod stand down some. And start grabbing utensils and get set up in there. I just checked a little bit ago. Looks like I did a pretty good job sanding down, and I touched up a few more spots. So, I did forget to do one thing. I always like to use an air gun, blow it off one last good time. That way, when I'm painting, you're not getting like a powdery chalk residue in the paint. Sometimes I'll use my pancake air compressor with the air gun, and a lot of times if it's a small spot, I'll use this little handheld rechargeable air gun. Now it's blowing dust everywhere already. Some nasty stuff. Try to show this air gun a little bit better. It's pretty cool. So, it's got a little turbine on the back. Pretty strong too. It just doesn't hold a charge very long. Made by Wolfbox. I got it on Amazon for about 70 bucks, but it's money well spent, in my opinion. It's so convenient, even dusting around the house or blowing stuff off. Don't have to go grab that air compressor and fill it up. I like to get all of it off the baseboard so I'm not accidentally getting it into the paint. So. It's looking pretty good. Not many people in the chat today. Hope everybody's doing good if you're watching. Probably not the most exciting thing to watch. I say it a lot when I'm doing this. Now see, I don't know if you can catch it. Once again, I need to give it another. Actually, I need to focus on this for a minute. I don't think you can see it. So there's little mounds of dust, and then up there, I think you can see that. Up here, I need to sand that down better. Now that I'm down in here, I glanced in here with the light a little bit ago, but now that I'm in here, I need to do a little sanding. sand too much. I may need to run the vacuum and just go ahead and vacuum it out. Hanging over it, you're always going to see it. It was too thick. This closet's, heck, I think this closet's barely 4 feet tall, so not too many people's ever going to walk in this closet unless you're vertically challenged or about a 6 or 7 year old could stand up in here, but about it. Well, this sucks. I just sanded quite a bit, so I'm going to go ahead and vacuum up. Vacuum up before I get blowing that air gun around again. It's just going to stir it all up everywhere. Everything else looks pretty good. It's been a whole day in this room, actually 2 days, just sanding between the main room and the closet. Nobody's in here, 0 viewers, although last night it said 0 and somebody was in here. Say was in there talking to me, so. Right now it's 0 viewers, 2 likes, nobody speaking in the comments. Somebody said MM, not sure what that means. This is, I'm excited. I can't wait to get this over with, all this sanding. Such a nightmare. I don't like doing this at all. It's better when it's done, but this has been 2.5 months being on unemployment. Try not to be a complainer, but this sucks. So we're ready to get it done and over with. I'm already sweating my butt off. This closet's super hot. So small, tight, cramped. Like I said, said, I try to take pride in my work. You drive yourself mad trying to get these walls completely Taj Mahal perfect. Old plaster walls. I think long and hard before you ever get yourself in a place with plaster walls that's going to need restored. Just pay somebody or knock them out or drywall them, or if you've got the money. Nasty stuff to be breathing. Takes forever if you want to do it right. Nobody wants to help with this kind of stuff either. I've done a lot of things in my life. I've got quite a bit of experience working on these plaster walls now, and I absolutely hate it. Coincidentally, it's probably one of the things working on the house that I've gotten the most experience with, other than yard work and tree trimming, stuff like that. I'm not worried about brushing the baseboards because they'll be getting painted a darker color. They're already painted, so they really don't need much primer. And eventually, once I'm ready to redo the wood floor, they're getting ripped up anyway. So. The only reason I'm avoiding them now is because they still have some joint compound slopped on that needs scraped away. I don't want them painted over. Make it harder to clean them up. I have a bucket over there with a wet rag. I need to clean them as I go too. When I'm good and thick with the primer. Painting over this topping, the first layer of primer, though, you don't want to keep going over it because it'll saturate that topping mud and it'll start to rip it up. You kind of want to get it on there and keep moving before it has a chance to saturate it and rip it up. And you'll have rework to do. Can't really see this. It's just a little tight 7 or 8 inch spot on the other side of this door frame. Have it done real quick. Actually, nobody's talking, so even if there is a couple people in here. So I'll probably get a motivational play in here in a minute. As soon as I come out of this closet to grab that bucket of water over there. Go ahead and turn the motivational on and listen to it instead of just listening to myself talk for the next hour. It gets tricky because it's such a tight spot. That's why I wear these clothes too, but I don't know how much I want to be leaning up against paint. Wet paint. I want to knock this closet out today though, so I'll probably suck it out and just bounce against the wet paint. Some days more people stop in than others. Anybody watching, feel free to subscribe. I'd appreciate that. All right, get a motivational playing. I'm gonna grab this bucket and wet rag and dab up some of those baseboards as I go. Pick up where I left off yesterday.
Wavering North Star that guides your actions regardless of emotional weather. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or denying their importance. It means refusing to let them dictate your choices. It means understanding the pivotal distinction between acknowledging emotions and surrendering to them. The revelation that transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary journeys is learning to convert pressure into performance. Most people break under pressure. They see it as something to avoid. But pressure, properly understood, is simply energy that needs direction. When channeled correctly, it becomes the fuel for exceptional achievement rather than the cause of breakdown. The mastery of this principle requires moving with intent, regardless of mood. On days when motivation is high, you execute. On days when motivation is nowhere to be found, you still execute, because you're guided by something far more reliable than fleeting emotional states. Your reality ultimately responds not to hope or wishes, but to command, to clear, decisive action taken despite emotional resistance. If you've experienced the power of being guided by purpose rather than feelings, share purpose-driven in the comments section. The ultimate morning declaration that anchors all the others is, I take full responsibility as the architect of my life. This is where the transformation truly begins. The moment you stop outsourcing accountability for your circumstances and claim complete ownership of your journey. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that you don't need permission to rise or approval to build your vision. Most people live in a perpetual waiting state, waiting for validation, waiting for perfect conditions, waiting for someone to notice their potential. But the architects of extraordinary lives recognize a fundamental truth. The only ingredients necessary for transformation are the discipline to tell yourself the truth and the courage to live as if it's already real. This perspective shift creates an immediate sense of sovereignty. You stop being a passive observer of your life and step fully into the role of creator. The blueprint isn't handed to you, you design it. The materials aren't provided, you gather them. The construction timeline isn't set by others, you establish it. This responsibility might initially feel heavy, but it's actually the lightest burden you'll ever carry because it eliminates the weight of victimhood completely. Now, I want to introduce you to the third powerful morning declaration that builds upon this foundation. Today is my opportunity to dominate, not hesitate. This mindset revolutionizes how you approach each day from the moment you open your eyes. Instead of viewing mornings as simple restarts or blank slates, you recognize them as proving grounds, opportunities to demonstrate commitment to the vision you've established. The hidden truth that separates extraordinary achievers from everyone else is understanding that hesitation is the silent killer of dreams. One pause, one delay, one moment of indecision can cost you momentum that might take days to rebuild. Most people don't fail because of lack of ability. They fail because they hesitate at critical junctures where decisive action would have carried them forward. When you declare each morning is a proving ground, you enter the day with a completely different energy. You're not just going through motions.
How's it going, RV?
Demonstrating who you are through immediate.
Back at it, trying to get this primer done and over with.
While others spend their mornings in indecision, scrolling through distractions, or delaying important work, You move with precision and intention.
I'm moving with precision and
This
intention.
isn't about being busy. It's about being deliberate. The revelation that transformed countless journeys is understanding that when you bend your will to the day will bend to your will. This isn't mystical thinking. It's the natural consequence of directing your focus and energy with such clarity that resistance naturally diminishes. Behind every extraordinary achievement is this simple truth. The day responds not to intentions but to actions. Hesitation surrenders your power, while immediate execution claims it. Those first minutes after waking are when you establish whether you'll be the architect of the day or merely its inhabitant. If you've experienced the power of treating each morning as a proving ground,
Oh, thank you very much, kind sir.
Comments below. When we embrace each morning
So,
as a proving ground, we naturally
change,
shift our focus away from
when I talk to them
external
about 30
competition
seconds
to the
later.
only contest that truly matters. The gap
So I talked to
between
Shane and
today
he said that
and
they
who
got
you
back with
become.
him and they're gonna have him
This
start around
represents a
10:30
profound
or so.
paradigm shift in how we measure success.
Looks like it'll
Most
be
people exhaust themselves trying
something
to
I'll be
outperform others, constantly looking
looking forward
sideways
to.
instead of forward. They celebrate when
So,
someone else
I
fails,
guess they got a hold of
rather
me.
than when they themselves
I
grow.
want him to
At
start
the
the next
morning
day.
declaration, I
Orientation
compete
at
with
10:30.
my potential, not with others,
Pretty quick
liberates
about
you
it.
from this
Get that call.
exhausting comparison
all.
trap. It redirects your energy
next week.
toward the most worthy adversary you'll ever face, your untapped capacity. This isn't about ignoring what
All
others
right, sounds
accomplish.
good.
It's about recognizing
Yeah.
that their journey
Throw
isn't
many an apple for
yours.
me.
Their pace isn't yours. Their
Tracking through
destination
this
isn't
pretty
yours.
quick, but I still
The
gotta hit a
breakthrough
couple
insight
spots.
that transforms ordinary achievers into extraordinary ones
Pretty
is
hot
this.
here again.
What others do is fundamentally irrelevant to your personal evolution. When you wake up declaring that you compete only with your potential, you enter a realm where external validation loses its power. You're no longer derailed by others' opinions or accomplishments because your measuring stick is internal. It's the gap between your current self and your possible self. This perspective creates a profound sense of sovereignty over your journey. You don't need to wait for others to fail for you to succeed. You don't need to diminish others' light to make yours shine brighter. You simply need to focus relentlessly on fulfilling your own commitments day after day, regardless of what anyone else is doing. The revelation that accompanies this mindset is understanding that I refuse to let time pass while sitting in indecision. Most people don't realize how much of their precious life energy evaporates in the limbo of indecision. They contemplate, analyze, weigh options, seek opinions, and ultimately delay action until the window of opportunity is closed. When you declare each morning that action is power and hesitation is surrender, you create an internal environment that naturally favors decisive movement. You recognize that the clock ticks whether you move or not, and you refuse to surrender those irreplaceable moments. To paralysis, the hidden truth behind every meaningful breakthrough is this: motivation is a myth when treated as a prerequisite for action. Waiting to feel motivated before taking action is like waiting for the tide to rise before learning to swim. The masters of morning mindset understand that you must train your mind to act regardless of feelings, especially when you don't want to. This is where the real edge is built. Not in the moments when action feels easy and natural, but precisely in those moments when every fiber of your being resists movement. When you push through that resistance, you're not just accomplishing a task, you're forging an identity. You're becoming someone who acts despite emotional weather, not because of it. If you've experienced the power of pushing through resistance when you least felt like taking action, type "resistance conquered" in the comments below. This mindset of action over hesitation naturally leads to one of the most powerful declarations you declare each morning: while others overthink, I execute. This statement creates an immediate competitive advantage in a world paralyzed by analysis. Most people get caught in what psychologists call the overthinking trap. a cycle where excessive analysis becomes a substitute for actual progress. The revelation that separates extraordinary achievers from everyone else is understanding that clarity comes from action, not contemplation. You don't think your way to crystal clear vision, you act your way there. Each step reveals the next step in a way that no amount of planning ever could. While the masses are scrolling through endless content, you're sharpening your skills. While they're wishing for different circumstances, you're working to create them. The transformation occurs when you recognize that every single move you make must bring you measurably closer to your vision. This doesn't mean blind action, it means strategic execution. You're not just busy, you're productive in the direction of your highest priorities. This distinction creates a filter through which you evaluate every potential action. Does this move me closer to where I'm going, or is it just motion without progress? Behind the scenes of every breakthrough achievement is this fundamental truth. Domination doesn't mean doing more things. It means doing what matters with absolute power. Most people disperse their energy across dozens of tasks, feeling productive while actually diluting their impact. True. Domination comes from laser focus on the vital few actions that create disproportionate results. The paradigm shift that creates extraordinary outcomes is learning to eliminate distractions and weak thoughts before they can take root. This preemptive mental discipline is what sets apart the elite performers in any field. They don't just manage distractions, they actively hunt them down and eliminate them before they can hijack attention. They don't try to resist weak thoughts once they've taken hold. They install mental filters that prevent those thoughts from gaining traction in the first place. This approach to domination requires a level of mental clarity that most never develop. It means having the courage to say no to good opportunities so you can
Tight
say
spot
yes
up
to
in that
bad
corner.
ones.
It's a
It
real
means
sharp
understanding
corner.
that your energy is finite and treating it as your most precious resource.
It's a good
It
45
means
degrees.
recognizing that in a world of endless notifications and interruptions, the ability to maintain focused attention is perhaps the ultimate competitive advantage. When you declare each morning that domination means doing what matters with power, you're committing to a completely different standard of performance. You're rejecting the modern addiction to busyness in favor of the timeless pursuit of mastery. You're choosing depth over breadth, impact over impression, and results over activity. This mindset creates a profound shift in how you experience your day. Instead of feeling scattered and overwhelmed by endless tasks, you move with singular purpose through the vital few actions that actually move the needle. If you felt the difference between busy work and focused power...
How's everybody doing? If you're watching, I hope everybody's having a real good day.
This precise focus on what
Mine's
truly
pretty
matters
good.
reveals another transformative...
Getting through this primer.
I am the force and the push I've been waiting for. This statement confronts one of the most common delusions that keeps people stuck. The belief that motivation, opportunity, or success will arrive from some external source. The awakening that changes everything is realizing that you are simultaneously the seeker and the solution. Most people exist in a perpetual waiting state, waiting for the perfect mentor, the right opportunity, the ideal circumstances, or that mythical burst of sustained motivation. But behind the scenes of every extraordinary journey is this revelation. You've been waiting for something that was always inside you. You are both the sign and the catalyst you've been seeking. The world operates according to immutable laws. It doesn't respond to wishes, hopes, or intentions. It moves exclusively for those who apply force through consistent, focused action. It yields only to those who refuse to stay still. When you declare each morning that you are the force you've been waiting for, you eliminate the dependency on external factors that keeps most people permanently stalled. This perspective creates an immediate shift in your relationship with time. Instead of waiting for conditions to align perfectly before taking action, you recognize that your movement itself creates the conditions. Your action generates the momentum that makes everything else possible. The inspiration doesn't come first. It follows decisive movement. This naturally leads to another powerful morning declaration.
More paint here in
I don't
about
wait
5
for
or 10
perfection.
minutes.
I move, adjust,
Refill this
and
pan.
improve on the way. The liberation in this mindset is understanding that opportunities rarely arrive at convenient
Putting it
moments.
on extremely thick in this joint compound.
Completely ready.
The topping mud
Opens briefly, and those who
definitely
hesitate
soaks
because
it
of
up
perfect
pretty
conditions miss it entirely. The breakthrough insight that separates extraordinary achievers
seal
from
it all
masses
up.
is learning to act without delay, then adjust and refine while in motion. Imagine trying to steer a stationary car. It's impossible. The steering only works when the vehicle is moving. The same principle applies to your journey. Clarity comes through action, not before it. This approach requires embracing a fundamentally different relationship with failure and difficulty. When you fall, you don't question your path or ability. You simply get up. When the challenge intensifies, you don't retreat. You get harder, matching and exceeding the resistance. When progress feels slower than expected, you don't become discouraged. You push faster, understanding that pace is adjustable through effort. The revelation that transforms ordinary journeys into extraordinary odysseys is this: no resistance, no obstacle, no challenge can outlast a truly relentless spirit. It's not about having more resources than others. It's about becoming more resourceful. It's not about avoiding difficulties. It's about developing the resilience to move through them with unwavering determination. If you've experienced moments where you stopped waiting and became the force in your own life, share self-propelled in the comments below. Now I want to introduce you to our fourth powerful morning declaration that builds upon everything we've explored so far. I am unstoppable when I decide to be. This mindset transcends mere motivation. It's about making an irrevocable inner decision that fundamentally changes how you navigate the world. When you embody this declaration, you naturally carry a presence that comes from knowing your purpose. This presence isn't manufactured. It's the authentic radiation of someone who has achieved internal clarity. Most people enter rooms seeking validation, approval, or attention from others. But there's a profound energetic shift when you walk in carrying the certainty of your purpose. The revelation that transforms how others perceive you is this: confidence doesn't come from seeking attention, but from absolute clarity about who you are and what you're building. People can sense the difference between someone who needs external validation and someone who is internally anchored. This presence isn't about dominating conversations or demanding recognition. It's about the quiet certainty that emanates from someone who knows exactly where they're headed. This perspective creates a liberation from one of the most common traps: the tendency to diminish yourself to make others comfortable. Most people unconsciously shrink their light, dampen their
Scraping away extra
soften their ambitions,
joint compound, the different types of mud that fell
But when you declare each
throughout this
morning
project.
purpose-driven
I'll be happy to replace all these space boards. There's
shine at full wattage.
good sized gap
That your authentic power
under here, so if you get rodents
is an
and
inspiration.
stuff in your walls, they're gonna love
Changes
something
how you
like that.
interact
It's
with the
easy.
world is understanding that
Easy access in and out for
domination
them.
means taking control over myself. Most people misunderstand domination as control over external circumstances or other people. But the masters of morning mindset recognize that the only
Wide
domain
open
you
down
truly
in there.
control is your internal landscape, your reactions, your discipline, and your
Scrape away the
consistency.
thicker stuff and
This
then
shift creates an
usually the
immediate
water-
sense of sovereignty.
take it off.
Instead of being ruled by moods,
Pretty easy to
external
finish
triggers,
up.
or temporary emotions,
Doesn't gotta be
your
perfect,
guidance
you're gonna get
is
ripped up
by
and replaced.
mission. You don't negotiate with the part of yourself that prefers comfort over growth. You don't make excuses when you feel tired.
Careful to stay off the wall because you don't want
Recognize that being ruled by fleeting emotions is the ultimate
work away the
power. The
mud on the
transformation
wall.
occurs when you
Go.
understand
So-
that self-mastery is the foundation for everything else you want to achieve. Every external result,
moving, unrolling.
from physical fitness to financial
Getting right
success
through.
to relationship quality, is ultimately a reflection of your relationship with yourself. When you declare each morning that you are ruled by mission rather than moods, you elevate your standard for internal consistency to a level most never reach. If you've experienced moments where your unwavering decision created unstoppable momentum, share decision made in the comments below. This
I'll give that page
decision to
40
be
minutes.
unstoppable naturally leads
Dry
to
out
a
before
profound
I
realization
paint
about
on.
authorship. I hold the pen that writes my story. This isn't just a poetic metaphor. It's a fundamental truth about human potential. Every moment presents a crossroads between hesitation and action. If you hesitate, the page of your life stays blank, filled with possibilities, but empty of actual experience. But when you take decisive action, you begin filling those pages with a legacy that extends far beyond your physical presence. The watershed moment in personal development comes when you truly internalize
I did use
that
a
you're
metal
not just a character in someone
corner
else's
piece here in
narrative.
case I ever
You
slide
are the
stuff in and out of the closet and
primary
it
author
gets
of your own. Most people
banged up or
unconsciously
banged into
surrender
it.
the
I'll
pen to external
fold up a
influence,
little bit more sturdy.
societal expectations, others' opinions, or random circumstances.
Plaster
But
walls
the
are like
revelation
that
that
anyway.
changes everything is recognizing your absolute authority over the story you're creating. This perspective creates an immediate shift in how you approach daily decisions. You're no longer simply responding to what happens. You're actively creating what happens next.
Just primer
You're
here.
not here to observe life or comment
All
on
we're
it.
doing right now.
You're here to make your mark through tangible results and unwavering discipline. The blank page isn't intimidating, it's inviting. It's the canvas awaiting your unique expression. The journey of authorship requires understanding that meaning isn't found, it's made. Purpose isn't discovered like a hidden treasure. It's forged through consistent intentional action. When you declare each morning that you hold the pen, you accept both the freedom and responsibility that comes with creating your narrative. This naturally connects to another powerful morning declaration. A stronger version of me awaits at the end of today's road. This mindset creates an immediate sense of possibility and direction. Most people view each day as an isolated unit, a standalone experience with little connection to their overall trajectory. But the breakthrough insight is recognizing that every single day is actually a bridge, connecting your current self to your potential self. The transformation occurs when you understand that every choice you make either brings you closer to your potential or pushes you further away. There is no neutral position. Each action, each decision, each moment
Yeah, I'm really
of
glad
focus
I
or distraction is literally a vote
on
for
these
the
penny
person you
clothes.
want to become. The masters of
If you ever saw me, I'm normally in this attire.
identity
I'm always working
isn't
on something.
static. It's constantly
Since
being
then-
shaped by these accumulated decisions.
Banging up some good
Perspective
clothes.
creates an entirely different relationship with daily choices. That extra rep in the gym isn't just about physical fitness, it's a vote for discipline. That moment of choosing focused work over distraction isn't just about productivity, it's a vote for mastery. That difficult conversation you don't avoid isn't just about resolving conflict, it's a vote for courage. You begin to see every action through the lens of identity formation. If you've experienced the powerful realization that your daily choices are literally creating your future self, share Identity Architect in the comments below. This identity-focused approach leads naturally to the declaration, I build, push, lead and sharpen because today is mine.
The wall behind me will be pretty easy. It's just straight up and down vertical
Of your time and
wall.
energy. Most people begin
Once
their
I
days in a reactive state.
reposition and work on the wall behind me, I'll probably get through it pretty quick. I'm thinking about possibly doing a first coat of that light gray out in the room. Not the color I'm going to go with, but I'm going to go ahead and do a layer with that. I have a bunch of extra light gray paint.
This specific day with its unique opportunities belongs exclusively to you. It's not owned by your employer, your social media accounts, or even your loved ones. While you may choose to dedicate portions of it to various responsibilities, the fundamental ownership remains yours. This perspective creates an immediate sense of sovereignty over how you allocate your most precious resource, your time. When you declare each morning that today is yours, you naturally become more discerning about what you allow into your mental and physical space. You stop wasting those golden morning hours on aimless activities or distractions that drain your energy without moving you forward. You take complete ownership of your schedule and refuse to surrender it to weakness, distraction, or the urgent but unimportant demands that constantly arise. This ownership mindset reveals perhaps the most powerful aspect of morning declarations. Nothing can hold me back once I fully commit. The revelation that transforms ordinary journeys into extraordinary odysseys is understanding the profound difference between partial and complete commitment. Most people live in the purgatory of maybe. They're interested in success, but not committed to it. They want results, but leave room for retreat. The watershed moment occurs when you flip that internal switch from maybe to must. In that moment, everything changes. The doubts that previously paralyzed you don't disappear. They simply lose their influence over your decisions. The distractions that previously derailed you don't vanish. They just lose their power to pull you off course. The fears that kept you playing small don't evaporate. They just no longer determine your actions. This perspective creates an immediate shift in how you approach challenges. You stop negotiating with the part of yourself that wants to quit when things get difficult. You remove the back door that allows for easy retreat when resistance appears. You burn the bridges that would
even the primer looks so much better.
When transformation becomes
Step back and take a look.
The breakthrough insight,
nice and white, clean looking.
From everyone else, is recognizing that true commitment isn't a feeling, it's a decision. It's not something you feel occasionally when motivation is high. It's something you decide once and enforce.
We're gonna have to be careful. I don't mind getting paint on this shirt, but
when you make that
not really be trying to be
can hold you back.
rolling around in it either at the same time.
Forward motion. If you've experienced the unmistakable power that comes from making a non-negotiable commitment to your vision, share fully committed in the comments section. This insight about commitment leads us to one of the most liberating truths in personal development.
Well, I have a hard time capturing footage on this wall over here.
This revelation completely transforms how you understand success and failure. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that extraordinary achievement requires extraordinary talent. But
decent, it's a long closet, but it ain't.
Is a much simpler reality. The difference
not
between
tall
success
at all.
and failure
Not that
rarely
wide.
comes down to ability.
It's a long
It
closet.
almost always comes down to commitment. Think about the graveyard of unrealized dreams that most people accumulate over a lifetime. Those unfulfilled ambitions didn't die because of lack of capacity. They perished from lack of decision. They remained in the purgatory of someday and maybe until they eventually faded entirely. The masters of morning mindset understand this trap and deliberately avoid it by removing all escape routes from their journey. The transformation begins.
Actually, I gotta blow this wall off too behind me. It's got powder all over it.
To form. Most people create elaborate justifications for why they couldn't achieve their goals. Time constraints, resource limitations, lack of support, or unfavorable circumstances. But the extraordinary few make the paradigm-shifting decision to remove these mental escape hatches entirely. They don't negotiate with the part of themselves that wants an easy way out. This perspective naturally transitions us to our fifth powerful morning declaration. Discipline, not emotion, controls my day. This mindset represents the ultimate form of personal sovereignty, the absolute refusal to let temporary feelings dictate permanent decisions. The breakthrough insight that changes everything is declaring, I've eliminated all options except forward motion. When you wake up having already eliminated retreat as a possibility, you enter the day with completely different energy. Most people wake up subconsciously preserving their right to quit if things get uncomfortable. But the revelation that transforms ordinary journeys into extraordinary odysseys is understanding that when you commit fully to an outcome, the battle is already half won before it begins.
Bring the spaceport
The
up
hidden
again.
truth behind every meaningful achievement is
Run the
this.
scraper over
Hope
first.
is not a strategy. Wishing for results creates nothing but frustration. The masters of morning mindset don't hope for outcomes. They create them through persistent, consistent action, regardless of emotional weather. They understand that results respond to execution, not intention. This approach requires a fundamental shift in how you relate to challenges. Instead of asking, can this be done? You simply ask, how will I do this? The first question leaves room for doubt and retreat. The second assumes completion and focuses exclusively on method. When you eliminate all options except forward motion, your mind stops wasting energy on whether to continue and focuses entirely on how to continue most effectively. If you've experienced the clarity and power that comes from eliminating all options except forward motion, share no retreat in the comments below. When you embrace discipline as your controlling force rather than emotion, you discover one of life's most liberating truths. The world yields to those who pursue with everything they have. This isn't motivational hyperbole. It's a fundamental principle of achievement that operates regardless of industry, background, or circumstance. The world doesn't respond to wishes, intentions.
I'm going to get some more paint and grab my little hair gun.
Relentless, focused energy.
Definitely got powder all over the wall. I got to blow off of it. I don't want to get in my paint.
Is understanding and reassurance are luxuries you cannot afford to seek. Most people spend precious energy asking, am I ready? Or do I have approval? Or is this the right time? But these questions drain momentum and even build. The masters of morning mindset recognize that locking in on your vision with unwavering focus is the only approach that yields meaningful results. This perspective creates an immediate shift in how you process information. Instead of being constantly derailed by every opinion, news story, or setback, you develop the capacity to drown out noise.
If anybody is actually watching, I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to stir a new gallon of paint up.
You amplify
Getting in
what
another
moves
gallon.
you forward and minimize what holds you back. This filtering mechanism is perhaps the most underrated superpower in achievement. The catalyst for this disciplined pursuit is consistent, purposeful action, not sporadic bursts of effort followed by extended rest, but steady, persistent movement in the direction of your vision. The revelation that transforms ordinary careers into extraordinary legacies is understanding that consistency compounds over time. Small, disciplined actions performed daily eventually create results that appear miraculous to outside observers. This disciplined approach naturally leads to another profound morning declaration. Legendary achievements come from choosing power under pressure. When you study the architecture of breakthrough accomplishments across history, you discover this common foundation. They all emerged from someone who chose discipline precisely when surrounded by legitimate reasons to quit. The hidden truth behind every extraordinary outcome is that the defining moment wasn't the public victory. It was the private decision to continue when everything and everyone suggested retreat. It was choosing focus when distraction seemed justified. It was selecting discipline when emotions screamed for comfort. These invisible decisions, made when no one was watching, ultimately created the visible results that everyone celebrates. What separates history makers from history observers is this fundamental difference in relating to pressure. Most people view pressure as a signal to retreat, a warning to reduce expectations or postpone action. But the revelation that changes everything is recognizing that pressure is actually the crucible where ordinary potential is transformed into extraordinary capability. It's not something to avoid, it's something to leverage. If you've ever experienced the transformation that occurs when you choose discipline despite emotional resistance, share Pressure Transformed in the comments below. This perspective on discipline naturally reveals another profound truth. I don't need perfect conditions, I need decision and persistence. This revelation completely transforms your relationship with circumstances. Most people are constantly waiting for ideal conditions before taking meaningful action. The perfect amount of time, energy, resources, support, or inspiration. But the journey of mastery is paved with this insight. Success has never required perfect circumstances, only relentless determination. When you examine the backstory of any extraordinary achievement, you'll find someone who decided to move forward despite imperfect and often actively hostile conditions. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that the ability to decide and persist through difficulty is infinitely more valuable than raw talent or perfect opportunity. This single attribute, persistent action regardless of circumstances, creates results that appear almost miraculous to outside observers. This mindset creates an immediate shift in how you approach obstacles. Instead of seeing difficulties as signals to pause or retreat, you recognize them as the precise conditions needed to develop unbuilt capability. The transformation occurs when you stop asking, "Is this the perfect time?" and start declaring, "This is the only time I have." This perspective eliminates wasted energy spent waiting for ideal conditions that rarely, if ever, appear. Perhaps the most liberating morning declaration within this mindset is, "Ready is a trap. There is only the decision to start." This statement contains one of the most common delusions that keeps potential locked away. The belief that you must feel completely prepared before beginning
Trusty old air gun.
The hidden truth behind every meaningful journey is that readiness isn't a prerequisite for action, it's the result. Most people are taught in paradox of preparation, believing they need to feel ready before starting, but not realizing that the feeling of readiness comes primarily from having already started. The masters of morning mindset bypass this trap entirely. They don't wait to feel prepared.
Settle back
They
in.
begin now and develop capability through direct engagement. They understand that readiness is developed in motion, not in contemplation. The watershed moment in personal development comes when you truly internalize that the perfect moment is a mirage that has kept countless dreams permanently deferred. It simply doesn't exist. What exists instead is this moment. The only one you're guaranteed, and your decision to use it purposefully. The morning declaration, "Ready is a trap," liberates you from the paralysis of preparation and propels you into immediate, meaningful action. This perspective shift creates an immediate change in how you begin new challenges. Instead of spending endless time researching, planning, and preparing activities that often serve as sophisticated forms of procrastination, you take the first concrete step immediately. You recognize that clarity comes through engagement, not analysis. The revelation that transforms journeys is understanding that the only thing that truly matters is the resolve to keep going once you've started. If you've experienced the liberation of starting before feeling completely ready, share action first in the comments below. When you fully embody the declaration that discipline controls your day, you experience one of the most liberating.
It'll be so bad when I get this little
Once I decide
small
nothing
size
is
done, I
happening,
can reposition.
distractions fade. away. This isn't motivational exaggeration, it's a neurological reality. When you commit unconditionally to your path, something remarkable happens in your perception. The critics whose opinions once paralyzed you suddenly seem irrelevant. The past failures that used to define your identity lose their emotional grip. The perceived weaknesses that limited your vision no longer determine your actions. The transformation occurs not because these elements disappear from your life. They are still present, but because they no longer command your attention. The mind can only focus intently on a limited number of stimuli at once. When you lock completely onto your destination with unwavering commitment, these distractions naturally fade to the background. All that remains in your field of awareness is forward momentum, the next step, the immediate action, the present opportunity. This single-minded focus represents the pinnacle of personal sovereignty. Most people live at the mercy of whatever captures their attention. News headlines, others' opinions, social media updates, or past regrets. But the masters of morning mindset understand the profound power of directed attention. They don't try to eliminate distractions. They simply refuse to grant them significance. This perspective shift creates an immediate sense of control over your mental landscape. This disciplined mindset naturally transitions us to our sixth powerful morning declaration. Every challenge is a chance to prove my power. This perspective completely transforms your relationship with difficulty. While most people pray for power, the masters of morning mindset understand that being unstoppable means continuing regardless of conditions. The revelation that changes everything is recognizing that true resilience isn't about avoiding difficulty, it's about persisting through it. Anyone can when conditions are favorable, energy is high, and motivation is strong.
Looks like more sanding too in a minute.
Characteristic of extraordinary achievement is continuing when energy is
Over
depleted,
here and up here.
when fatigue is screaming for rest,
Not much, but
and when every fiber of your being wants to surrender to comfort. Behind the scenes of every meaningful breakthrough is this hidden truth. The most significant
glad I
growth
caught
occurs
that.
precisely
Some
when
paint
you
running
push
up there.
despite low energy. The most valuable strength is built specifically when you rise despite exhaustion. The most powerful habits are formed exactly when you show up despite comfort, beckoning you to stay home. These aren't unfortunate circumstances to be avoided. They're the exact conditions required to forge uncommon capability. This
Like to
perspective
cut it down with a
creates
brush
an
and
immediate
then
shift in how you view challenges.
come back with that
Instead
little
of
3-inch
asking,
roller.
why is this so
Maybe
hard?
4-inch.
You
I think
begin
it looks
asking,
good.
what is this difficulty?
Keep going with a
developing?
3-inch.
You stop seeing obstacles
Somewhere
as
between 3 and
punishments to
4-inch
endure,
roller.
and start recognizing them as opportunities to develop qualities you couldn't access any other way. The morning declaration. Every challenge is a chance to prove my power, transforms your relationship with resistance itself. If you've experienced the transformation that occurs when you persist through difficulty rather than avoiding it, share resilience
Awfully quiet in the chat
in the
today.
comments below. This
Had a few
perspective
stop in
of
last night.
naturally leads to
Mainly they
one
were
of the most
looking for
liberating
subscribers,
declarations
which is
possible.
okay. I don't mind
My
helping people.
decisions define me,
I didn't
not
have much
my
else going on
circumstances.
anyway.
This insight completely transforms.
Did have another live stream taken down last night.
Most people live as
Tried
though their
to
external conditions determine their
practice
identity
around and share some
capability.
WWE
They
highlights.
believe they need the right background,
And it didn't go over
resources,
too good.
connections, or luck to achieve
Took me down
extraordinary
fast,
results.
so.
But the revelation
I'll
that
give a
changes
quick
everything is
one
understanding
right here,
that
and then I'm used to
circumstances
saying
have never been the
before I get
primary
too far.
factor in your outcomes. Your decisions have. The evidence for this truth appears
I
throughout
probably
human
shouldn't
history.
have did that. I'm
People
saying
with
this
every
right
conceivable
here.
advantage,
And
wealth,
right there.
education, connections, talent, often
Actually,
achieve
no,
nothing remarkable because their decisions lack commitment and consistency. Meanwhile, individuals facing overwhelming obstacles,
Won't take but a second.
disability, discrimination, trauma, Sometimes achieve extraordinary breakthroughs because they've made different internal decisions about who they are and what they're capable of creating. The transformation occurs when you stop viewing your circumstances as the determining factor in your story. Your upbringing, your financial situation, your relationship, status, your health challenges, none of these elements define what's possible for you. They simply create the landscape through which you navigate. The journey of awakening begins when you recognize that the difference between achievement and stagnation has never been about external conditions.
Try to keep the pain away from it. You don't want this debris flying down in the pain.
Immediate shift in personal responsibility. You stop attributing
Work it away. There's some wet over here, so I'm trying to
and start recognizing the immense power
bring it away.
Choices. The declaration, "My decisions define me," isn't about ignoring
My air gun
or privileges. It's about reclaiming your agency, regardless of where you find yourself on that spectrum. Now I want to go even deeper into what this mindset creates in your daily experience. When you fully embrace challenges as opportunities to prove your power, you naturally make another profound declaration. I've chosen relentless forward motion as my standard. This statement represents the ultimate commitment to your vision. Most people allow their standard of performance to fluctuate based on convenience, mood, or external feedback.
Should be pretty
But
good.
the masters of morning mindset establish a non-negotiable standard of forward movement. The revelation of this extraordinary odyssey is recognizing that you have too much to turn back.
Little air gun's so handy.
Momentum to play small or abandon your path. This perspective creates an immediate sense of responsibility. The morning declaration, "I've chosen relentless forward motion," eliminates the constant renegotiation that most people engage in daily. This commitment to
We're a little
completion
beat up spot.
becomes your default operating system. You no longer waste mental energy debating whether to continue. That decision was made once and enforced daily. The only question that remains is how to move forward most effectively. This singular focus
baseboard
creates an unusual clarity that most never experience. When you remove the option of retreat, your mind naturally becomes more resourceful, more determined, and more solution-oriented. If you've made the decision that your vision is worth seeing through to completion no matter what obstacles arise, share "decided to finish" in the comments below. This commitment to completion reveals perhaps the most empowering morning declaration possible. I am the force, the miracle, and the storm. This statement represents the ultimate reclamation of your personal power. Most people exist in a perpetual waiting state. Waiting for rescue, waiting for the right mentor, waiting for perfect circumstances, or waiting for divine intervention. But the revelation that transforms ordinary lives is understanding that you are simultaneously the
Take the wet rag to it real
The
quick.
awakening that changes everything is recognizing that the power you've been waiting
There's
for
mud
has been within.
that it got
You
on
are
it.
alone. You don't need external rescue. You need internal revolution. You are the force that drives your progress, the miracle that creates transformation, and the storm that breaks through barriers. This perspective creates an immediate
Trying to stay ahead of us
shift
for when I paint the
responsibility and
baseboards.
agency. You stop
Already
outsourcing
have
your
myself set
evolution
up a little
to
bit better.
external factors and claim complete ownership of your journey. Behind the scenes of every breakthrough achievement is this hidden truth. No wall is high enough, no doubt is deep enough, and no setback is powerful enough to break someone who has made the unshakable decision to continue. These obstacles aren't defeating you. They're revealing your capacity for
It's
resilience.
pretty quick
They're
to
not
get it rolled out
happening to
now.
you. They're happening for you.
It's like
They're
everything.
creating the exact conditions required to develop uncommon capability.
Hold
This
on.
mindset naturally leads us to our seventh and perhaps most confronting morning declaration. Excuses are lies. Execution is truth. This perspective completely transforms how you relate to challenges and setbacks. When you declare each morning that I live by principles, not by feelings, you establish a non-negotiable standard for your actions, regardless of emotional weather. The revelation that changes
grittier sponge.
understanding that discipline means consistently choosing long-term goals over temporary emotions. Most people make the fundamental error of letting their daily mood determine their actions. They work intensely when motivation is high, then collapse when it inevitably fades. They pursue their mission with passion on good days, then abandon it entirely on difficult ones. This emotional inconsistency creates a permanently fragmented journey. The transformation occurs when you recognize that your feelings were never meant to be your compass. They were meant to be weather passing through your awareness. Sometimes stormy, sometimes sunny, but never the determining factor in your direction. Your principles, the standards you've established for yourself, become your true north, regardless of emotional fluctuations. This perspective you stop asking, how do I feel? And start asking,
Be real careful not to get that down in the paint that's right behind me in the pan.
to let momentary mood swings dictate your work quality or allow physical fatigue to rewrite your mission. You recognize that these emotional and physical states are temporary, while the impact of your consistency is permanent. If you've experienced the power of living by principles rather than being ruled by feelings, share "Principles Guide Me" in the comments below. When you embrace the declaration that excuses are lies while execution is truth, you naturally begin living by this powerful standard. I act because I said I would, regardless of how I feel. This statement represents the ultimate form of integrity, keeping promises to yourself even when every emotion is screaming for retreat. Most people make the fundamental error of believing that consistency requires motivation. But the revelation that transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary journeys is understanding that the difference
Maybe
between
touching a
dreamers
spot
and
up over
achievers
here with some
is
mud.
rarely talent or
There,
opportunity.
so actually
It's
two spots
consistent
that I've
action,
noticed.
even when motivation is
Won't take
completely
long.
absent. The awakening that changes everything
done
is
with that in about
recognizing
5
that
minutes.
character isn't built
5 minutes and let it
when action feels easy.
dry and sand it off.
Force
It'll be okay.
specifically in those moments of resistance when every fiber of your being wants to procrastinate, delay, or abandon your commitments entirely. These aren't unfortunate circumstances to be avoided. They're the precise conditions required to develop uncommon integrity. Behind the scenes of every meaningful breakthrough is this hidden truth. The masters of morning mindset don't wait for inspiration to strike before taking action. They act first, and the inspiration often follows as a natural consequence of engagement. They understand that waiting for the perfect emotional state is perhaps the most sophisticated form of procrastination, one that feels completely justified in the moment, but ultimately keeps
Oh, well, that primer covered it pretty good, actually.
This
You might get away with
perspective
it.
creates an immediate shift in how you approach daily responsibilities. The declaration, "I act because I said I would," eliminates the constant internal negotiation that most people engage in. You stop wasting mental energy debating whether you feel like honoring your commitments. The decision was made when you established the commitment. The only question that remains is how to execute most effectively. Now I want to go even deeper into what might be the most transformative insight within this final declaration. Discipline is doing what needs to be done when I don't want to do it. This statement confronts the fundamental misunderstanding that most people have about discipline. They view it as a personality trait that some possess naturally, while others don't. But the revelation that changes everything is recognizing that discipline isn't a character trait. It's a decision made repeatedly in the face of resistance. While emotion constantly whispers, skip it or do it later, Discipline demands immediate, focused action.
Looks so
regardless of
different
feeling.
once the primer
This
covers.
isn't about suppressing emotions or
So
denying
much
their
better.
existence. It's about refusing to grant them decision-making authority. The transformation occurs when you understand that emotion is perhaps the most unreliable guide for important decisions. It's temporary, fluctuating based on
some
countless
extra paint here. I'm gonna
variables,
go ahead
from
and
quality to nutrition to
cover some
recent
spots out in that
interactions.
other room just to get them
Discipline,
a little bit
however,
thicker.
never fails you. It creates a foundation of consistency that builds momentum.
I overshot it big time on the primer.
It establishes a trajectory
Got
of growth.
for 3.5 gallons and I
even
used
through periods of low motivation or inspiration. The morning declaration, discipline,
I got plenty I can
is
use it on
what
now.
needs to be done.
Just kind of my
Eliminates
theory
the
on that.
emotional prerequisites
If I
that keep most
buy too
people
much, I'll end up
focused on
using it
the
somewhere else.
If you've experienced the power of taking action, regardless of how you felt in the moment, share discipline decided in the comments below. As we've journeyed through these 7 powerful morning declarations, I hope you've recognized something profound. These aren't just motivational phrases, they're activation codes for your potential. The miracle of transformation doesn't happen in grand, dramatic moments. It occurs in those quiet decisions made before the world starts demanding your attention each morning. Remember, what you consistently tell yourself becomes your reality. Not because of some mystical law, but because your mind literally reconstructs your experience based on what you repeatedly declare as truth. This is what Neville Goddard understood so clearly. Your imagination, properly directed through disciplined declaration, becomes the blueprint for everything you'll create. I created this content because I've witnessed the extraordinary shifts that occur when people reclaim those first moments of consciousness each day. If you found value in these declarations, if something resonated with your own journey, I'd love for you to become part of our community. Subscribe to
Wrapping up the
continuous
closet.
conversation about mental
Finish the
mastery
touches here.
and purposeful living.
And then
If these morning declarations spark something
we'll
in you,
use up the rest
if you
of this
felt that
pan
subtle internal shift
there.
that signals recognition of truth,
in the main room.
leave a comment saying, declarations activated so. I know these words found their way to the right person, and if this message added value to your day, that simple like you leave becomes a signal that helps others discover these same principles. It's not just engagement,
Put my air gun
it's
in.
contribution to a larger
This air gun dies
conversation
pretty
about
quick.
human
It's awesome, but it
I prepared another video
will die pretty quick
that
if you don't keep
directly
plugging
on
it
these
in.
principles, showing how to transform these morning declarations into evening reflections that accelerate your growth. Click right there and continue this journey with me. The transformation has already begun. Let's keep building on this foundation together.
Consistency is not something you feel, it's something you choose, no matter what. Most people don't have a discipline problem, they have a decision problem. They keep starting and stopping because they never made the decision to be consistent, no matter what. Not when it's easy, not when they're excited, but even when it's hard. Even when no one's watching. Even when progress is slow. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. The title says it all. 10 secrets to staying consistent no matter what. And if that speaks to you, then stay right here. This isn't about hype or unrealistic talk. This is about the daily habits, the inner toughness, and the small mental shifts that separate those who stick with it from those who quit halfway. If you've ever felt like you're slipping, starting over, or always almost making progress, then you need to hear this. These 10 truths will help you build a mindset that doesn't quit, a mindset that keeps going, no matter what. This is your wake-up call. No more delays, no more resets. It's time to learn how to stay consistent for good. Number 1, act now instead of thinking for too long. How many times have you had an idea, a plan, a goal? You sat with it, thought about it, imagined what it would look like, maybe even talked about it with someone, and then nothing. Days passed, weeks passed, and the idea stayed right where it was in your head. That's the first mistake. overthinking.
Man, it's already 8 o'clock.
Getting lost in what-if scenarios.
Maybe I'll use up this
It's not
pan
action
and
that
start.
breaks people, it's hesitation. It's
Next
delaying what
cook
could have been
tomorrow.
done today because the mind wants to be 100% certain,
They just slipped
fully
away.
ready, perfectly clear.
Quick.
But here's the truth. Life doesn't wait for perfect timing. Life rewards action, not planning. If you want to be consistent, really consistent, you've got to move faster than your doubts. The mind is tricky. It'll come up with 1,000 reasons to hold you back. It'll whisper things like, just think it through a bit more, or you need more information, or wait
That's
until you
what
feel
I'll do.
motivated.
I'll use up
But
this
motivation
pan and
is
call it a day.
It comes and goes.
Get cleaned
By
up.
the way, is the power of a small action done
Enjoy a little
right
bit of
now.
the
It
evening.
now means doing the next
Probably do
real
some
thing,
push-ups
not the
and
big dream, not the perfect version, just the next step.
Get on live stream later, maybe do
doable,
some bench
something that
press.
tells your brain, I'm not sitting around anymore.
Exercise on the weight
Because every
set.
time you act immediately, you build momentum. And momentum is the secret weapon of consistency. People think consistency is about willpower. It's not. It's about building energy and keeping it moving. And that starts by acting before your brain gets a chance to stop you. You don't need more books. You don't need another course. You don't need to watch 10 more videos. You need to get up and begin. It's the beginning that's tough. Once
Using
you
up
start,
the pan
something
right
changes
now.
in you.
Give me
You go
good
from
kick
thinking
on the
to
primer.
doing. And that change is what transforms people. That's where consistency is born. Don't wait until you feel like doing it. Feelings are not reliable. One day you'll feel excited. The next you'll feel tired. But if you only act when you feel like it, you'll be inconsistent forever. Strong people act regardless of mood. They act because they've decided. They act because they
Man,
know
there's a lot of
nothing
paint
gets
here.
done
I
through
should just
wishful
put it
thinking.
back.
And you've got to reach that place too.
probably
You've got to
will.
teach yourself that acting now is the
This'll
rule,
take a
not
while
the
to
exception.
use this up.
Not a special day. Not when conditions are
Areas that
right.
don't really
Right
need it.
now. Whatever you need to do it today. If it takes 5 minutes, don't stretch it into 5 days. If it's uncomfortable, don't wait until it becomes easy. It won't. Most people give their time away to hesitation. They think about starting the gym, but wait until Monday. They think about fixing their finances, but wait until the next paycheck. They think about building
Yeah, I
their
think
dream,
that's what
but wait
I'll
for
do.
support.
Nobody's in here anyway,
And
really.
slowly time passes.
There is, they're
life
not
passes.
speaking, so.
Then one day, they look back and wonder why nothing changed.
All a day
It's
on
because
this
they
live
waited.
stream.
And waiting is a habit that kills
Put this
consistency.
paint up and
You've got to rewire that habit. Replace it with something
that's what
sharper.
I'll do.
When a task comes to mind, do it. When something needs to be handled, handle it. Don't negotiate with yourself. Because the more you delay, the heavier it feels. And the heavier it feels, the more likely you are to quit. The longer you stare at the mountain, the bigger it looks. So stop staring and start climbing. This is a skill you build over time. You don't have to fix everything today, but you can take one small action today, and that's how it begins. That's how consistent people stay consistent. Not because they have superpowers, but because they've trained themselves to take action first, not second. They don't get caught in the trap of over-preparing. They move. They figure it out on the way. And because they move, they grow. Now here's something most people don't want to hear, but I'm going to say it straight. Thinking too much is a form of fear. It's fear dressed up as logic. It sounds smart. It sounds safe. But it's fear. It's fear of failure. Fear of looking foolish. Fear of the unknown. And if you don't push through it, that fear will own you. You've got to make peace with imperfect starts. Not every action will be smooth. Not every move will work out perfectly. But what's the alternative? Waiting forever? That's not how progress happens. You've got to get used to being uncomfortable and still acting. You've got to get used to not knowing everything and still moving forward. And once you do that, you'll feel it. You'll feel a different kind of power in your life. You'll start trusting yourself more. You'll feel proud. Not because everything went right, but because you stopped standing still. Because you chose progress over perfection. And that's what keeps people consistent. Not results. Not praise. Not external rewards. Just knowing they did what they said they would do. You need to build that kind of self-respect. You need to be able to look in the mirror and say, I do what I say. I don't overthink. I act. That's where your confidence comes from. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you earn by keeping your word to yourself again and again. Now ask yourself this. How many things are you sitting on right now? Projects, goals, ideas, changes you know you need to make. What's holding them up? Is it really time? Is it really resources? Or is it just hesitation disguised as planning? Be honest with yourself. If something matters to you, prove it with action.
All right,
Not words,
putting
not
stuff up
promises.
for today.
Action. Do it today.
I think
Start now. Even if it's uncomfortable.
I'll be
Even if it's
retiring
small.
this roller
Even if nobody
anyway,
sees it. That one
just in
decision
case I
that
wanna
matters
put
is
something
what
up
puts you in
tomorrow.
control. It's what separates those who talk about changing from those who actually do. And the more you do it,
And
the
bang it
easier
off
it
for
becomes.
tonight.
Every day you act fast. Your brain rewires. Your self-image changes. You stop being the person who delays. You become the person who moves, and that shift changes everything. So don't wait for the right moment. Don't wait for motivation to hit. The right moment is the one you create. And motivation, it shows up when you do. You start. Then motivation follows, not the other way around. Consistency is built in those tiny decisions, not once a month, not once a week, but every day, every moment, every time you choose action over thought, you take back your power. So right now, today, ask yourself, what have I been delaying? And then go do it, not later, not after
Yep,
this
that'll
video.
do it for the
Right now,
primer.
that's how you build a consistent life. That's how you win. Not through talk, not through plans, through action. Immediate action, the kind that rewires your brain and reshapes your life. And if you can learn to act now
Gotta
without
clean this
waiting,
brush
without
up and-
overthinking, without second guessing, you'll be ahead of 99% of people. Because
There
most
is
people
actually
wait,
two
but
people
you
in
won't.
here. I'm
You
jumping
act.
off here.
And that's the
I'm gonna go
secret.
get
That's
cleaned
where
up.
consistency begins. That's where
Enjoy a
your
little
life
bit of
starts
the
to
evening,
change.
do a little bit of
Number
workout,
two,
so
shut off everything that
taking
makes
off.
you
I'll see
avoid
you
your
later.
work.
Beyond the
Most
night,
people
probably
don't stay
think they want to
consistent
stop in,
because they're constantly
say hi.
distracted.
So
They start something,
having a good day.
then shift to something else. They plan